inscribed about 3,500 years ago on the walls at the Temple of Luxor in Egypt, are images of the Annunciation, the miracle conception, the birth, and the adoration of Horus. The images begin with Thoth announcing to the Virgin Isis that she will conceive Horus, then Neph, the Holy Ghost, impregnating the Virgin, and then the virgin birth and the adoration. This is exactly the story of Jesus' miracle conception.
This is taken directly out of the pages of The Christ Conspiracy by Acharya S. However, Richard C. Carrier responded, "Since I am an atheist, and since I have formal experience in ancient history, the following should hold some authority with skeptics. The Luxor inscription does not depict impregnation by a spirit, but involves very real sex, and the woman involved is the mythical queen of Egypt in an archetypal sense, not Isis per se. Several things are very clear from the written narrative. The adoration scene only involves important state officials, not kings or magi. Understanding their background and cultural and historical context is helpful and necessary, but it doesn't lead to any plagiaristic scandal of the sort Acharya S. wants there to be." In regard to the inscription and Zeitgeist interpretation, researcher Keith Thompson contacted John Baines, professor of Egyptology at Oxford University, who stated, "The reliefs you mentioned show the conception and birth of the future king after the creator god. Amun-Ra has taken on the form of the existing king to impregnate the queen. There are links, but they are very far apart. Your source is a very long way off that, and several of the statements it makes are wrong." Dr. Janet Johnson, professor of Egyptology at the University of Chicago, stated, "The scene showing the god Amun visiting the queen mother to impregnate her with the future ruler, in this case Queen Hatshepsut, a Christian interpretation just doesn't work." When contacted about the film Zeitgeist, Victor Blunden of Universities of Manchester and Liverpool and of Ancient Egypt magazine said, "I have heard mention of this film before, and though I haven't seen it myself, I understand that it contains many misinterpretations and distortions of the actual Egyptian textual and relief material to get its message across. Egyptian kings were believed to be semi-divine beings, the son of an Egyptian god by a human mother. Thus the relief refers to the king Amenophis III and not to Horus, though kings could sometimes be said to be the incarnation of the gods, due to another Egyptian myth. This is where the confusion may have come in. The reliefs actually refer to the conception of the king, showing he was born of a human mother, the Queen of Egypt, by the god Amun. It was not seen as an immaculate conception, as the queen was impregnated by the god Amun. This is not the Virgin Isis, but the Queen of Egypt depicted, and by this time she was not a virgin as she had sex. The second scene clearly shows a pregnant Queen Matumwiya standing between the two Egyptian gods. The scene generally shows the baby infant being presented to the other Egyptian gods and finally being presented to the god Amun, who acknowledges that the child is his true son. Thus the interpretation of this scene by the film Zeitgeist appears totally wrong, as it imposes Christian values interpretations on a typical scene showing the divine conception of an Egyptian king. The god Horus is not mentioned here. Isis is not depicted as far as I can see. There are no three kings or magi bearing gifts, which is total fabrication and quite out of context in the Egyptian myth. Scholars disagree with Zeitgeist.